What is power? What is power? What's up, family? What's going on with you? Hope you're doing well. Another Thursday. Welcome to the Anti-Negativity Network. We out here, enjoying the weather, enjoying the breeze, hanging by the water. So whatever you see in the background is just what you're gonna see. Water.
Lots of it.
Lots of it. But yeah, we just decided we want to come out here and well, I decided. She didn't decide. I decided. So she just came along for the ride. But she also came along for the ride because what's the day? It's our anniversary in our Tone voice. It's our 26th anniversary today. So yeah, I'm thankful.
I'm thankful too.
I hope so. But yeah, we just thankful. 26 years, God has blessed us to stay together. And, you know, if anybody's been married for any length of time, you know it's some work. It's a lot of give, take, ups and downs, uncertainties, certainties. It's a lot. But, man, it's awesome. It's a great feeling. I ain't gonna lie. I'm excited the fact that 26 years she's been hanging with me. I know it ain't always been easy for her, but she's still here with me, and I'm excited about it. So, happy anniversary to us. Okay, anybody else celebrating the anniversary? Happy anniversary. You picked the right day to get married, such as Larry and Francine Griffiths.
That's right.
Happy anniversary to Larry and Francine Griffiths as well. I got to give him a holler. Anyway, yeah, so y'all know what we do on Thursday. So we're about to jump into this. But before we do it, let's go ahead and do what we always do on the count of three. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. All right. So hopefully you can hear us loud and clear. Yeah, we just, out here in the elements, enjoying nature, and just thankful to be here to do it. So, but we back in chapter 50, Genesis chapter 50, and last week I told you I had 2 messages, and I still do. But I got a feeling this just might spin off into something else. But nevertheless, I want to backtrack a little bit because last week I asked the question. Let me make sure, because I know I write this stuff down because I don't want to mess it up. I asked you, are you going to get back or are you going to get back? I asked that question last week. And I want to touch on that real quick because I want to make sure I close the loop on that. I asked that question, are you going to get back or are you going to get back? And some of you might still be wondering, like, what I mean by that question. Quite simple as this. And if you look at Joseph, and we're still in chapter 50, and you look at Joseph and his brothers, this is after they laid their father Jacob to rest. They come back to the land that they live in, which is I think it's Goshen. Mm-hmm. And so the brothers are still kind of in their feelings a little bit and worried about the future because they know what they did to their brother Joseph. And now that the father is gone, the brothers may be wondering, is Joseph really going to take this opportunity to get back at us for all the wrong we did to him, the way we treated him? And then, so they addressed them and they asked them, through that, as they had conversation with their father, the father instructed them to come back to Joseph and ask for forgiveness and that they would actually serve him, So again, the dream that they hated on him from at the very beginning actually came to fruition because they actually bowed before him and told them that they would be his slaves, okay? This is just his own brothers, right? So the dream actually came to pass. But Joseph could have took that opportunity, and this is why I want to clarify the question. He could have taken that opportunity to get back at him. He really could have. But instead, he chose to get back, meaning he backed up, humbled himself, and said, you know what? That's not for me. That's for God. I'm not God. First of all, I'm not God. And then vengeance belongs to him, not me. So he chose to get back, meaning he stepped back and allowed God to move in front, not him. Because the reality is, had he chosen to get back, he might have forfeited everything that he went through in the past. He could have forfeited all of that just for one opportunity to get back at his brothers. And thankful that he did not take that opportunity. He chose to allow God to do what God gonna do, okay? To deal with his brothers, not him. Come on, baby. Yeah.
Well,
The other thing.
well, I guess because, you know, to some extent, it was all under control by God too,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
God wanted to take that family and of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph and his brothers to
Yeah.
create a nation.
Right. Yeah.
And so, you know, all the things that happened had to transpire
Yep.
for, you know, God's plan to go forth. You know,
Yeah.
so even to the point of touching Joseph's heart
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
making sure that, you know, within his heart he had the capacity to forgive his
Yep.
brothers
And stay humble.
and move, you
Yeah,
know,
yep.
move forward in God's plan.
Yeah. So good stuff. Good stuff. So I wanted to just touch on that last week because I felt after we finished on last week that I kind of left that open and I didn't really explain it because I tried when I asked a question I tried to explain my question or close the loop on the question, and I felt like I didn't do that last week, and I wanted to make sure I circled back and did that this week. So, but that's what I meant by, are you going to get back or are you going to get back? You have an option. You have a choice. You can choose. What up, Stanley? What's up, bro? You have the choice to either get back at somebody for what they did or didn't do, or you have the choice to get back and allow God to get up front. You always will have that choice. God would allow you to have your free will, okay? Perfect gentleman. He's going to allow you to do what you want to do, okay? But you know, like I know, that every time we try to make something happen, we try to make it do what it do, yeah, that's when things don't end up doing what it's supposed to do. All right? So, but I want to get to my second message, okay? Hopefully what I just said kind of clarified what we talked about on last week. You can always go back. That's one good thing about Facebook. You can go back, and eventually I will have it uploaded on my YouTube channel, our YouTube channel, the Anti-Negativity Network. So that is a YouTube channel. So please go and subscribe. But chapter 50. I when I was reading this, it just so much is in chapter 50 that I feel is a blessing to us. And as you can see, we're wearing our matching shirts today. Pray, plan, prepare, proceed. And it's our anniversary. So, as it would have it, you know, we actually came up with today's message, okay, through Christ. Okay? Don't act like we all that. But through Christ, we came up with this message. That's the reason why we're wearing the shirts. Because when we talk about Joseph, and Joseph displayed power in so many different ways, in so many different settings. And my wife asked me a question yesterday. I still don't have an answer for it. And I actually want to dig into it a little bit more, but you're probably going to dig into it next week. Appreciate you, Stan. Appreciate you, bro. We're probably going to dig into it a little bit more next week. But this week, I want to just talk about the power that he displayed, the things he went through. And when my wife talked about, she brought it to my attention. Yolanda, thank you, darling. Appreciate you. We thank you. But my wife brought it to my attention. When you think about everything that Joseph went through, and it kind of reminds us of the 4 P's. Pray, plan, prepare, proceed. And if you just go back and look at it, Sam, thank you, brother. Hope all is well, man, with you. But you look back at the beginning. I will talk about I'm gonna go through it step by step, but we won't be before you too long. But the power and the mindset of Joseph is just a blessing. It really is, and I think we can get a lot from it. But from the very beginning, you know, if you go back and we're gonna kind of walk through what happened with Joseph. But from the very beginning, Joseph was sold out by his brothers. His brothers was actually plotting to kill him, especially after he shared his dream to them about them bowing down before him. Okay? They weren't feeling that. So then he doubled down and told the second dream. And this time, not only did he go back and tell his brothers again, but he went and told his father. And they all, in a sense, rebuked him for that. So they weren't feeling that. Understandably so. If somebody came and told you that you're going to be bowing down before them, you know you're going to give them the side eye and some other stuff. Might give them the fivefold ministry, but it ain't going to be a wide open hand. Well, it might be a wide open hand, but they're going to get all 5 fingers, right? So, but that's what happened with Joseph. Joseph went and told all the brothers and his father about his dreams. They didn't receive that well. The brothers started plotting on him from the very beginning. They plotted to kill him, okay? They threw him in a pit. And that brings us to the first P, which is pray. Because think about Joseph being thrown in the pit by his brothers, you know, and he had relationship with God. So I can only imagine he started doing some praying, okay? And just, we can relate to that because all of us have been there where we've been in a situation where we don't know how we got here. It wasn't our own doing, you know, but some folk just don't like you. They gonna plot against you. They don't mean you well, right? Some is family, some folk that we thought was friends, some folk we know is our enemy. You know, we know we have all been in that situation at some point where somebody put us in a position that we didn't ask to be in. Come on, baby.
Well, it's just like anything else. when we hit rock bottom,
Yeah.
or we find ourselves with our backs against the wall,
Yeah.
or we are in a mess or knee deep, you know, of course, that's when we turn to prayer.
Yeah, we do it pretty quick.
Right.
You don't even believe in God, but if you could pray for me.
Right, exactly. You know, unfortunately, you know, that's the case. You know, oftentimes we do start praying more when we are in that situation. The same thing with Joseph, you know, when he was in the pit, you know, just I'm sure his prayer life, you know. Yeah,
it kicked up a couple notches.
Yeah, exactly.
It kicked up a couple notches. Yeah. Not saying that he wasn't doing it, but yeah. Go ahead.
You know, and sometimes, of course, you know, when we're in a bad situation, sometimes we don't have time for these long, elaborate prayers. Sometimes the only thing we can say is, Jesus, help me.
That's it. That's
Jesus,
a prayer.
You've got to help me.
If you don't step in right now, we gonna crash and burn. We need you right now.
As our First Lady says, 11:59, 59.
Yeah.
You don't step in
right now. You know, right in the nick of time he does, though. And so you look at Joseph, he was in the pit, you know, because his brothers were and so they was plotting to kill him while he was in the pit. But of course, as you read in the Bible, Reuben's heart was pricked, and Reuben told his brothers, "No, let's not do that. Let's not kill him. Let's not kill him." So then they proceeded to sell him into slavery. Okay, they sold him to the Egyptians, so he got sold into slavery. His brothers did that to him, right? So now, as you move on and we get to the second P, where he is now a slave, okay? But he found favor with Potiphar, and he ended up living in the house with Potiphar, and Potiphar trusted him with everything, okay? So he was in control of everything, right? Except the house, right? Of course, Potiphar was in charge of his house, okay? But Joseph operated under Potiphar, right? So he found favor with Potiphar, but of course the enemy ain't gonna always be happy, okay? The enemy is always trying to get you off track or trying to do something dirty and call it clean and try to, you know, he's doing all he can to kill and destroy what it is that God has had planned for you. But that moves us to the second plan, because it was all in God's plan. You might not understand it. We ain't gonna always understand God's plan. Trust me, you're not gonna always understand God's plan. But in this case, Potiphar's wife started tripping. But Joseph, being the man that he was, displaying the power that was in him, the God-given power that's in him, he continued to operate in that and denied Potiphar's wife. She ain't like that. So she ratted him out, illegally, wrongly, lying. And Potiphar, of course, that he gonna believe his wife. Okay? So now, next thing you know, where does Joseph end up in? Prison. Because of Potiphar's wife, because she ain't happy with the fact that he denied her. She made her advances. He sidestepped all that. Don't want you. I'm out. So she snitched on him, lying, and now he's in jail. He's in prison. And so, but you can look at that and say, man, that's just wrong. Like, why is that? But it's all in God's plan. Because when he got to prison, he found favor in prison, okay? Even though he was a slave, an imprisoned slave that was forced to serve other prisoners. But because of the power that was in Joseph and him operating in that power, instead of him operating in flesh, he decided to continue to do what he felt was best. He served other prisoners, even though he was wrongly convicted and ended up in prison where he should not have been. But he was supposed to be there because it was God's plan. Come on.
Well, yeah. So like you're saying, that, even while he was in prison, he was preparing himself. He continued, the best way he could to continue to prepare himself for his next move. Whatever God had planned for him next. So
even though he didn't understand it, but come on.
Yeah. So sometimes in preparation, you will find yourself in places that you can't imagine being in. But it's,
situations you can't imagine being in.
But it's just
out of your control.
Training Day, I think that's Denzel Washington.
Yeah, that was his movie, Training Day.
Or whatever, preparation, for what God has prepared for you for your next move.
Yep, so it was God's plan all along for him to be there. And because of how he decided to, and again, he had to make the decision. He could have acted in flesh. He could have. And this might be a whole different conversation we having right now. But he operated in the power that was given to him. And as a result of that, he was able to flow even while in prison, even when he didn't understand why he was there. And that whole thing was preparing him for the next thing, okay? Which is the third P, prepare, okay? So while he was in prison, he was able to interpret dreams, okay? He was able to interpret dreams. He did it for the cupbearer and he did it for the baker, okay? And exactly what he dreamed is exactly what came to pass, okay? And it worked well for the cupbearer, didn't work well for the baker, unfortunately. But for the cupbearer, Joseph just asked him, hey, if you don't mind, would you go back and speak to Pharaoh on my behalf? Well, that didn't happen, okay? And all of us can relate to a time where we asked somebody to do something and what they did. The total opposite. They ain't do nothing, right? And that's what happened to Joseph, and he ended up having to stay in prison a little bit longer. But again, this is all still part of God's plan, getting him prepared for the next thing. And so he was getting prepared for the next thing while interpreting the dreams. And then as a result of that, he had an opportunity finally, because Pharaoh had a dream and no one could interpret the dream, and the dream did disturb Pharaoh. But they called for Joseph. Joseph made sure that he got himself suited and booted, make sure he was looking good. He came with his best on and came before Pharaoh and told Pharaoh everything about the dream and what was going to happen. And Pharaoh, talking to his council, trying to figure out what they're going to do. And the council said, well, if this man already know what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, as long as it's going to happen, why don't we go ahead and just allow him to lead us in what we need to get through this? Thus, move into the fourth P, proceed. He proceeded into his blessing. So these 4 steps that I always talk about, pray, plan, prepare, proceed, I close it out with every Thursday night, and this is not going to be any different. But I felt through my wife and the Holy Spirit, we felt that this right here, when we go back and look at Joseph and his life and the processes and the things that he went through, the things he went through, speaks to the 4 P's that I always talk about. And this is if you really just dig into this, you can see the blessing that came from this. And so the struggles that you're going through, the things you've had to deal with, and it just didn't make sense. This is why I tell you all the time, you got to have God as a part of the equation, because he knows everything, every step, every move, every action, every reaction. He knows it all, and he has it laid out. You just got to trust him. And that's exactly what Joseph did. Joseph chose to trust God through the whole thing, even despite the stuff that he had to go through, that he had no reason to have to go through that, because it wasn't something that he did in particular to cause that. You can relate to that. I'm sure you can. So hopefully I'm encouraging you, we're encouraging you to don't give up. Keep pushing. Stay the course. Keep praying, keep planning, keep preparing, so that you can proceed into what God has for you. He's working it out for you. And Joseph is a prime example. We can lean on the example of Joseph of how things can work in our life.
No, I mean, Joseph, as you can tell, is very important in the book of Genesis.
Yes.
Most of Genesis was about Joseph's life, and so as Ron and I were doing here, was just bringing up some important facts that we've seen, or opinions that we've seen about Joseph's lives.
Life correlation,
and the life of his family. God really used Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph, and Jacob's other sons too. He really used that family. As a matter of fact, we know that because Ron and I are sitting here, thousands of years later talking about them, So
exactly.
So God really used that family, and I think that Joseph is an example of how powerful family is. How important family is, and how God can use family for building up communities and building up nations and building up,
oh my God,
everything. And it's not just blood family. We always say all the time, our church family, our work family, our TNBA family, whatever.
That's right. TNBA.
Our
that's right.
Other types of family. Because we know the importance of family. And here in Genesis, it's just outlined for us to follow.
Absolutely. And when she was talking about family, you thought your family was crazy. You thought your family had issues. You thought your family was a misfit, right? You thought if you read this right here, we talking about Joseph, who was sold into slavery by his own brothers. But they really was trying to kill him at first. They was trying to kill him. And you thought your family was misfit. You thought your family had issues. Yet they all were used. Because when you talk about the different tribes, it came from Jacob's sons and grandsons. But you don't think your family can be used? That's why you have to pray. That's why you have to plan and prepare. Because through Joseph, they were able to be blessed as well. And so Joseph decided, no, I'm going to take the high road. I'm not going to cut y'all from neck to navel. I'm not going to gut you like a fish. I'm not going to get back. I'm not going to punish you. I'm not going to use this opportunity to do something dirty to you. No, I'm going to allow God to deal with you. In the meantime, I'm going to continue to love you, and I'm going to make sure you're good. I'm going to make sure you and your family taken care of. That's how blessed he was. And he continued to operate in the power that was given to him. So you need to operate in your power. We've been walking through Genesis for a long time, and we finally got to the end of Genesis. But I'm not sure we quite finished with Genesis yet, okay? Because I do want to come back, and I'm going to be thinking about this word power, and I hope you think about it. Because my wife asked me the question yesterday, what is power? And I've been thinking about it ever since. Now, I don't think there's just one answer. There's no one answer to it, okay? But I want to talk about that, dig into it, and I think we're going to start to dig into that next week, unless the Lord says something different. Next week, I think we're going to start to dig into this word power, because we all have power that's given to us. But if we're not operating in it, we might want to wonder why things are not working in our life the way we expect them to, or hope they would.
Given to us by the Holy Spirit.
So, let's maybe dig into that next week. But in the meantime, and in between time, thank you, Brittany. Appreciate it. Man, this is good stuff. But, hey, thank y'all for the anniversary love. Thank y'all for tuning in. We appreciate you. But in the meantime, what you supposed to do?
Pray, plan,
oh my gosh, she's wearing a shirt. We just talked about this for the last 20, 30 minutes. She wearing the shirt, and she still mess it up. Oh, forget it.
Prepare,
pray,
proceed.
Plan, prepare, proceed. Go make it do what it do better than she can. Thank you. Love y'all. Appreciate you. Thank you.